Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today, we'll explain our group member. Group 4 will explain about syntax. Okay, syntax in general, syntax means a set of grammar rules for words or clauses in forming sentences. Usually in written and spoken sentences, we see syntax elements in words or clauses that usually refer to a subject, verb, and object. Statistic rules. When we set out a proper analysis of the syntax of the language, we try to adhere to the all and only criterion. This means that our analysis must account for all the grammatically correct phrases and sentences, and only those grammatically correct phrases and sentences to the language we are analyzing. In other words, if we write rules for the creation of well-formed structures, we have to check that these rules, when applied logically, will not also lead to well-formed structures. Syntax states rules for using word phrases, clauses, and pronunciation, specifically to form sentences. Okay, fundamentally, syntax is about structure, of course. The rules of the syntax exist to make sentences clear and consistent.
Okay, next is deep and surface structure. There are two different deep sentences. The first is Charlie broke the window. It is an active sentence. And the second is the window was broken by Charlie. It is a passive sentence. The distinction between them is different in their surface structure. That is, the different syntactic forms they have as individual English sentences. However, this superficial difference in forms disguises the fact that the two sentences are very closely related, even identical at some less superficial level. This underlying level, where the basic component, it is a noun phrase plus verb plus noun phrase shared by the two sentences, can be represented. It's called their deep structure. The deep structure is an abstract level of structural organization in which all the elements determining structural interpretation are represented. That same deep structure can be the source of many other surface structures, such as it was Charlie who broke the window, and was the window broken by Charlie. In short, the grammar must be capable of showing how a single underlying abstract representation can become different surface structure. So the deep structure is an abstract level of structural organization in which all elements structural representation, and the surface structure is how the sentence is actually represented. Okay, and the next is structural ambiguity. One expresses the idea that Annie bumped into a man, and the man happened to be carrying an umbrella. And now there's two different versions of events can actually be expressed in the same surface structure form. Annie bumped into a man with an umbrella. The sentence provides an example of structural ambiguity. It has two distinct underlying interpretations that have to be represented differently in deep structure. So, their child has grown another foot, which illustrated lexical ambiguity, mainly because the word foot has more than one meaning. Next is tree diagram. Tree diagram is a way to elaborate lexical items in a sentence and to represent the syntactic structure of a phrase or a sentence. By Radford in the book page 483 in 2009. Syntactic tree diagram can be said to be a good apparatus to represent the internal structures of phrase and clause. And why it is named a tree diagram? Because the classic representation resembles a tree, even though the chart is generally upside down compared to an actual tree, with the root at the top and the leaves at the bottom. And tree diagram provide us a visual representation of the constituents of the corresponding expression.
I will explain about symbol used in syntactic analysis. We have already encountered some symbols that are used as abbreviations for syntactic categories. Examples are S equal with sentence, NP equal with noun phrase, N equal with noun, and then R or article, V or equal with verb, and then VP equal with verb phrase. Others such as PP equal with prepositional phrase seem fairly transparent. Here are the least common symbols and abbreviations. The first one is sentence, and then noun, and then verb, and then article, and then noun phrase, and then verb phrase, and then adjective, and then pronoun, and then proper noun, and then adverb, and then preposition, and the last one is prepositional phrase. Here are some signs for ungrammatical sentence. The first one is a row, consists of or rewrite as, and then parenthesis, optional constituent, and the last one is bracket. The one and only one of these constituents must be selected. And then about the symbol used in syntactic analysis, there are three symbols. The first one is in the form of an arrow. The rule is NP or noun phrase, arrow, art, and noun. This is simply a shorthand way of saying that noun phrase or noun phrase, such as the dog, consists of or rewrite as arrow, an article, the, and a noun, dog. And then the second symbol is pair of round brackets. The rule, NP or noun phrase, arrow, art, adjective, and noun. This shorthand notion expresses the idea that a noun phrase or NP rewrite as arrow, an article, and a noun, with the option including an adjective in a specific position. We can use this notation to generate the dog, the small dog, and the last one is the book, and etc. And then the third symbol is in the form of curly brackets. The rule, NP or noun phrase, arrow, art, adjective, and noun. And then NP, noun phrase, arrow, pronoun. And then NP, arrow, proper noun. And the result of this, NP or noun phrase, arrow, art, adjective, noun, pronoun, and then proper noun. For example, the dog, article plus noun, or it, pronoun, or Katie, or proper noun, using the abbreviation for pro, pronoun, and pn for proper noun. We can try this observation with three separate rules. And the last one is phrase structure rules. This second approach is very appealing because it will enable us to generate a very large number of sentences with what look like a very small number of rules. These rules are called phrase structure rules. As the name suggests, these rules state that the structure of a phrase of a specific type will consist of one or more constituents of a phrase of a specific type will consist of one or more constituents in a particular order. So we can use phrase structure rules to present the information of the tree diagram in another format.
Next is lexical rules. A lexical rule in the form syntactic rule used within many theories of natural language syntax. These rules are the argument structure of lexical items, for example, verbs and declension, in order to alter the combinative properties. Lexical meanings is defined as the meaning of a base root word without considering any prefix or suffix which may be attached. An example of lexical meaning is the meaning of the word port in the word import and portable. You can see the picture of lexical rules here. Lexical rules have three subtypes. One is derivational rule or D rule, and then inflectional rule or I rule, and then post-inflectional rule. D rule relates lexems to lexems and then change some point in syntactic. You can read in this slide. And then inflectional rule relates lexems to word, and then this point is the opposite of derivational rule. If derivational rule changes some point in syntax, but in inflectional rule does not change some points. And then 3 post-inflectional rule relates word to word. Next is movement rules. Movement rules is a syntactic rule for moving a piece of structure within the tree diagrams, giving rise to displacement situations where a word or constituent appears in some position other than where we would expect it. Okay, in these slides, you will see the example of movement rules. If you see the first picture, you will find sentence "You will help Mary" with structure, noun phrase, and then auxiliary and verb phrase. But if you see the second picture, you will find the differences. In the second picture, the auxiliary move in the front. So this auxiliary movement is the process based